I'd like to introduce the keynote speaker for today. Earlier this year, in January, Mark Drusch took charge as the Chief Officer Cargo at Qatar Airways, the biggest cargo airline in the world. I, in fact, interviewed him a day after the formal announcement of his appointment, and because he had taken charge a few weeks ago in early January. As I concluded my 41-minute interview with him, I asked him what his message to the air cargo industry was, and this is what he said. Let's be bold. Let's really think about how we achieve the next evolutionary step. Let's not say we can't do this. Let's not be held back by our history. Let's really be bold and say, okay, where do we go next? Where do we help develop global trade in an efficient, sustainable, and economic way? Where do we think bigger and better? How do we partner better, more than we have done in the past? Be bold. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin the Air Cargo China Exhibition and Conference here in Shanghai today, I could not have asked for a better resource to do this keynote and challenge the status quo of our industry. The air cargo industry must modernize. That's an emphatic and bold statement, not a rhetoric one. Should air cargo industry be modernized? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mark Drusch, Chief Officer Cargo, Qatar Airways. Mark, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Reggie. Thank you very much. First of all, since we're here in Shanghai, ni hao, good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Reggie, thank you for that very generous introduction. I appreciate it. I have a feeling Reggie may have edited my words because I don't know if I normally sound that eloquent, but I appreciate that introduction. Thank you very much. As Reggie said, I just joined your industry, and I say yours because it's new to me, 6 months ago. And I came from the passenger airline industry the majority of my life. I also had 15 years of building 2 e-commerce businesses. And I have to tell you, I learned so much about how you can push an industry in a way you hadn't expected by spending 15 years building 2 e-commerce businesses. And I hope to impart that benefit of both the passenger background I have, as well as the entrepreneurial background in building 2 e-commerce companies to all of us here as we move forward. As Reggie said, I had said, let's be bold. Let's move forward in our industry. So with that said, does anybody in the audience not have a smartphone on them? Does anybody not have a smartphone? Exactly. If I had asked you that question 10 years ago, a few of us would have had that little Sony, or we would have had a Blackberry. Or if you go 15, 20 years ago, we would have had a brick that could basically call for, $2 a minute somebody next door. So think about what that means. We all are holding in our hand, Carolyn's holding mine right now, we're holding a smartphone, which is well beyond a telephone. Have any of you watched the movie Blackberry, about the development of Blackberry? I watched it on the airplane over here, by the way. I thought there was a brilliant point in there in the very beginning, where the geeky scientists are saying, we're going to take this phone and we're going to turn it into a handheld computer. And that was a brilliant point where they weren't just talking about how do I make the phone better. They're talking about how I turn the phone into something completely different. I am going to talk to you today about what we need to do in the cargo industry to take our business into that next level of what do we do different beyond just marginally improving. How do we take advantage of technology, what we've learned from other industries, to improve our business? So with that said, let's get started. By the way, guys, I historically do not like standing behind a podium, so I apologize if that's the way we are right now. So think about what happened with the Blackberry. The Blackberry gave us a great phone, but it didn't provide us with anything more than a phone. And I remember reading about in Japan when they first started producing phones that could take pictures. And I thought, well, other than for teenagers, who cares if I can take a phone in my picture? I didn't have the vision that taking that picture could open so many things for us, not just QR codes, but submitting expense reports, making insurance claims, making sure you understand where you are in a conference like this to help geolocate you. So think about everything that we changed. And what was interesting is the Blackberry was brilliant in its time, but it really lost pace when the iPhone said, we're going to do something different. And what I need us to think about is, what are we doing to be different? We know that we are transporting cargo. That's great. What do we do to elevate that transport of cargo? What do we do that allows us to elevate the development of global economies? What do we do to help us elevate small economies being integrated into the global economy? I'm using a lot of my experience also in the airline industry, passenger airline industry. We are not doing things today that the passenger airline industry started doing over 25 years ago. And I know that's not a shock to a lot of you. But as I had said earlier to Reggie, that's not a reason for us to accept it. We as an industry must embrace the changes that are out there that make it better for our customers, for our partners, and for all of us as cargo operators, that make us more efficient, more profitable, and even more integral to the global economy. So why are we not farther ahead? I think it's because we have not demanded, and I had a discussion with Stan from SASE and Mark Diamond earlier today. We as an industry have not really invested in technology. Let's be very clear. We invest in aircraft, which cost us hundreds of millions of dollars, but we don't invest in the technology required to really improve the delivery of the product, to improve what we can offer our customers. So with that said, we're going to talk about 9 things that I think we should do in the industry. And historically, I want to be clear with all of you. I normally don't talk about 9 things because nobody can remember 9 things. I like to talk about 3 things. But as I dug into this, and as a newbie, it was easier for me to dig into it. I realized there were so many important things we can do differently that I had to go beyond my normal, here are the 3 points, and we're going to go through 9. And I know I'm right after lunch, so I'll hopefully not bore you by going through the 9, but I will take you through it. And the key in all of this is talking about data. One thing we don't do a good job of here in our industry is using data. And we don't use data. And by not using data, we take the risk of not being as relevant as we should be. I tell my team, data sets you free. With the proper data and analysis, we can determine where there are opportunities in markets, where there are opportunities for improvement, for efficiencies, where we have opportunities to grow markets. Data is what is sorely missing in our industry, and standardized data is missing. But let's go back to my point about using technology. We at Qatar Airways, and I'm very proud of this, and I have nothing to do with it. We were once again ranked the #1 passenger airline in the world. And a big piece of that is we focus on technology and how we use technology to improve our customer service and make it better for our customers to fly on us. If you look to the right, we launched about 8 months ago, Sama, which is our virtual Qverse flight attendant. She will help you understand on the airplane what's available to you, what your seat looks like, how to get through the airplane, other things, how to choose where you want to fly, what are your options in terms of vacation destinations. All of this is technology that our team put together in 6 weeks. We're not talking about developing the next new energy source. We're talking about technology that exists today that we in the passenger side have leveraged. Then you go to what we do today. We can't tell. We need a human being that's got to go through a warehouse to tell you where your package is. We don't have a way of telling you exactly where on the airplane or where on the pallet or where in the process your particular package is. And there's no reason why we can't do that today. So we need to understand all the technologies I'm talking about, they exist today. We're not inventing something new. So quite honestly, it's fairly easy. So let's get into a couple of things about evolution versus revolution. I'm a big airplane geek. My dad was a pilot. My mother's a flight attendant. My brother is a pilot. My other brother owns an MRO. My genetics is airline industry. So I always put things in context of the airline industry. And we know where we all started. The first propeller aircraft, according to Americans, was the Wright brothers. look at where we've gone in 100 years from the propeller aircraft to actually, it was just 40 years from that first launch of the propeller airplane in North Carolina to the first jets that were flown as part of World War II. In 40 years, we went from an airplane that barely could make it across a football field to jet aircraft that were flying at close to the speed of sound. So incredible evolution. I do want to make one minor point. That's according to Americans. The Brazilians credit the first flight to a gentleman named Santos Dumont, who, very similar to the Wright brothers, also launched the first flying. So any of you out there that are history buffs, it all depends who you believe. But either way, there's a great evolution, a development. But we didn't get to the revolution, and that's what we need to identify. What are the components we need to modernize and lead a revolution in our business? So let's talk about number one. We need to increase efficiency. I've had many discussions already today, and we'll have many more today, with partners over the next few days, in fact, with partners who want something that provides them with a more efficient way, a cheaper way of moving their products from point A to point B. Well, you can't do that without investing in technology. Technology will lead us to increased efficiencies, and that's through the digitization and optimization of the different functions we have today. So when you think about it today, we do a lot of the same things over and over again, but we don't have ways of technology enhancing it, making it easier. If I picked up my cell phone today, I can, in 10 minutes, I can order food. I can stock the house with laundry detergent. I can move money in my bank. I can check in for my hotel. I can pay my son's tuition. I can do that all in 10 minutes, like that. Today, think about all the activities we go through in airway bills. Think about all the activities we go through in ensuring that the weight that we have on the airplane is indeed the correct weight and it's actually positioned in the right place in the airplane. All of this needs to be automated and digitized so that we have better control over it, we can monitor it better, but we're more efficient, that we deliver higher profitability and lower costs. Let's talk about the customer experience. This is, again, an area where the passenger side has really moved far ahead of us. Today, a passenger knows immediately what prices are available to them, what flights are available to them, when they can fly, where they can fly to, what seat they can purchase, all of those good things. We don't have that same capability in the airline in the cargo industry. We're starting to get there with partners like Freightos. We need higher adoption of these marketplaces like Freightos, like Cargo IQ, to ensure that we are offering the customers the same confidence and the same efficiencies that we have in the passenger side. The technology will optimize our logistics additionally so that we can ensure we're offering to customers optimal capacity. Because if I can't optimize capacity, I can't offer the best price. If I always know that 10% of my capacity is going to be underutilized, I've got a price as though that $250 million airplane could only fill 90%, which means I've got to add 12% on to the base price so I have the 100% of the coverage. If we optimize through understanding where the customers are and what the customers are selling us, I can have a better price point for everybody. All right, so cost reduction. As I said before, all of this can lead to cost reduction. The faster we can get things through the warehouse, the faster I can turn the aircraft. The more I can use the aircraft, the lower my cost per operation. So the more we can create efficiencies that accelerate the processes, the more effectively I can price our product. Those airplanes cost $250 million. That's not including the new airplanes we've ordered. Imagine if I can squeeze another 10% block hours a day out of that aircraft. That means that ownership cost I have per block hour will come down by 8%. That means I can effectively price less expensively than we do today. So the more we can drive cost reduction through optimization, through technology, the better product and the better costs we can provide to the industry, our partners. This is one of the things, unfortunately, Reggie, you didn't mention that I did mention when we met when I first came on board. I'm very much committed to us finding ways to be a more sustainable business. As an industry, and this is across the board for passenger and cargo, we are really far behind. Now, we're far behind for a lot of reasons, structural reasons, cost reasons, but we are going to be held accountable by both our customers and the markets we operate into to have more sustainable, environmentally friendly operations. If we don't invest in our in green technologies, if we don't find partnerships and alliances that allow us to produce, to utilize sustainable fuel at a cost similar to what we have today, we cannot deliver to our customers that what is required and to our governments that's required. And here's one of the most illuminating things I learned my first 5 days on the job, that it is 4 times the cost of a gallon of gas, the cost of sustainable fuel. That means it is not sustainable economically. If tomorrow we had to, across the industry, both passenger and cargo, increase our costs by 4x for fuel, and don't forget, fuel represents between 35 and 40% of your total operating costs, we would shut down a significant portion of global trade and global travel. So we must, as an industry, find a way to not only deliver on what is required, but do it in an economic fashion. Otherwise, we will contract as an industry and global economies will contract. And that is not the goal of anybody. Next, regulatory compliance. This is something where it's a real challenge for all of us. I think what I'm asking us as an industry to do is make sure all of our governments understand how important global cargo is. I don't know if you saw our new tagline for Qatar Airways Cargo is leading in global trade. It is so important, particularly in the post-COVID period. What we do as an industry is incredibly important to our everyday lives. If you didn't have the cargo industry today, we couldn't order things from China and have them in Europe in 24, 36 hours. We couldn't distribute pharmaceuticals as quickly as we need to when the next epidemic starts or when the next flu outbreak is. I don't think we have done a good enough job as an industry in lobbying our governments to understand they must make our industry as efficient as possible, bring down some of the barriers for speed, and bring down some of the barriers that drive costs so that we can continue to drive and deliver for all of our economies and for our people what they expect now out of our industry. Sixth thing, data-driven decision-making. The worst thing you can do is make decisions without really understanding your numbers. This gets back to the point I said in the beginning, data will set you free. We need to understand our own data better so we can price better for our customers, so we can offer our customers better products, so we can deliver. If I don't have good data, I cannot determine how to improve my delivery times, how to improve my reliability for customers. We met with one of our customers today who brought up that sometimes, and very infrequently, thank goodness, but sometimes something that's supposed to be delivered in 36 hours ends up taking 48 or 54 hours. That's too long. But unless I have data to understand what caused that disconnect, I can't fix it. So data is critical to us delivering a better product across the board. And you need digitization in order to get that data. So you have real-time data. You can find out what drove that particular mistake, and you can get on top of it quickly. Without that, we cannot respond quickly to any of these issues. Risk management. This is something I think all of us really learned with the pandemic that we had, and that is we need to be resilient and we need to have security. Security is so key in terms of ensuring that as we are delivering more products, all of our aircraft are safe, our pilots are safe, our employees on the ground that are moving the product back and forth to make sure they're all safe. Modern technologies can help us improve that. As we are developing as an industry, better X-raying technology or imaging technology, as we have better sensor technology, as we have better weight technology, we can make sure we deliver a safer product, particularly when you consider the majority of cargo is carried on passenger flights. We must ensure that the cargo we put on our bellies of our passenger flights is as secure as possible, because at that point in time, you have 300, 400, 500 passengers on board that that are depending on us to ensure we know what we're carrying and it's being carried safely. And you need technologies to always ensure we have the highest level of security to ensure that safety. Globalization. This is one of my favorite topics. When you think about what we can deliver to help local economies develop, it is remarkable. The cargo industry allows, and we actually are participating in some of this, allows smaller communities to have access to a global marketplace. But we can only do that if we have an easy way for a smaller community in Africa and Southeast Asia and Latin America. We give them the way, the opportunity, the technology to put their products on an airplane and distribute it globally. They can't wait for airway bills that are being sent back and forth. They can't wait to determine what is the correct standard in this country or that country, or for this ship or versus the other. So in order to help promote global trade, particularly in smaller markets, developing markets, we need to push forward all these technologies. Otherwise, we cannot help with globalization. Last but not least, risk management standardization. It is amazing to me, and I learned this when I met with the Schenker team. Is there anybody from Schenker here? No. One of the first partners I met with in Frankfurt was the Schenker team, and they brought up to me some things that were just astonishing. That we don't even have standardization among certain things like airway bills. Think about it today. You can take your ticket on a passenger airline. Any airline can scan it, and they know what your ticket is, when you purchase it, how much it's for, where you're flying, on whom, and how to change it if they need to change it. That standardization is another path that's required for efficiency and to promote globalization. So I know IATA has been working on a standardization policy for over 10 years now. It's incredible to me that in 10 years, we can't get this fixed. But then again, we have to look at ourselves. If we're not pushing IATA to make decisions, if we're not being bold and saying, let's make this decision, let's get everybody on board over a 2-year period, we'll never get it done. And it's frustrating, I would think, for all of you, because it's part of this desire we have to succeed, but we don't have the political will to just do it. So I think it's important for us as an industry to push IATA and say, come up with the standards and just do it. And you know what? If we need to, we can adjust. Again, one of the things I learned by launching businesses, get something out in the marketplace and then let it evolve. But it's better to get started and evolve than to never get started at all. So a couple of things. I don't want us to be dinosaurs, because if we don't evolve, if we don't actually determine what the new environment is and how we need to succeed in the environment, we will be dinosaurs. Somebody else will find a technology to replace us. Something none of us have thought of yet. And one of our kids will dream up 20 years from now, and then they'll remember when their mom and dad was in a business that no longer exists. So we don't want to be dinosaurs. We have enough experience in understanding how to avoid being a dinosaur. We can't be a dinosaur. We've got to ensure that we do this together. This is something that requires a global commitment to improving the industry, because we all will succeed or fail if we are successful in changing things. And last but not least, we need to think revolutionarily. And I use revolution in the sense of incremental improvement is great if you've already achieved a position of high efficiency. We're not there yet, guys. We need to be much more efficient, which means revolution, which means being bold, taking risks, and pushing ourselves and our partners to do things that will drive us along this path. So in that regard, what we are doing at Qatar Airways for the next 12 months, I've assigned our team that's ahead of digitalization with a special group within our IT group, and they've got a very aggressive plan to bring out or to launch and roll out over the next 12 months improvements in customer booking, customer tracking, and in things like our what we do in the passenger side for Sama, things that make it easier for our customers to understand where their packages are. We're going to partner with the passenger side that has experience in this. I don't need to reinvent the wheel there. We're going to do that over the 12 months. So I hope in 12 months, when we all get together somewhere else, I can show you everything we've done that showed where we are trying to lead the industry in this modernization that I believe we all should be following. So, Reggie, that's it. But everybody, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.